Your business is ultimately a tech platform. So what are your thoughts on, I guess, the future of technology? And I ask this because last year, for example, you tweeted, "Why is nobody talking about the AI coming out of China right now?" So what innovation really excites you? Is it AI? Is it something else? What do you think is going to have a big impact on the world ahead?
I mean, AI is huge. I think AI is the big news story. It's what everyone is talking about, and I think that is because it is the big story. I don't think there's like another big story that people are missing. I think people don't yet fully understand what it's going to happen. Where I see it going is I think we will all have our agent, which does most things for us. We'll interact with it, probably not by typing. I think that typing is not a very natural human interaction. I think it'll probably be by voice, but it might be some other way. It might be brainwave patterns. Who knows where it's going to go? But I think we will be interacting in a human way with an agent. That agent will then be interacting with everyone else's agent and with company agents. And I think we've kind of gone in my lifetime from no internet to internet as a place you go to, as in the computer was in the living room and you went over and did some internet and then you kind of came out, to like constantly online, extremely online. It's always on us in our pocket. And I think the next iteration will be it's actually literally everywhere in the air because we're talking to it and we're not even mediating through any particular device, or at least it doesn't feel like it. I see a lot of opportunity in that. You know, I think it's really cool. There's obviously huge amounts of potential downsides. The two that I'm particularly concerned about, one is further erosion of trust. So there are certain things we have gone since the 50s. We have gone from being able to rely on institutions, government, sources of news, professional expertise, to having every single one of those fundamentally questioned. I still do believe in those things, but a lot of people don't. Yeah. But the thing that we still have, even now, is the evidence of our own eyes and ears, right?
Not for long. Yeah.
Exactly.
Deep fakes, it's going to change
exactly.
everything. Yeah.
So we lose even that. Yeah. We can't even trust our own senses in the future. And what happens when you lose trust in a society? Trust is like a lubricant for society. You know, it makes all transactions easier. Trust, friendship, love. And so the opposite of that, when you lose trust, is every single thing that involves two human beings is just harder and worse. Yeah. So that's my first fear. And this is a problem I would love to work on. I'm not directly working on this problem right now, but I'm thinking about it quite a lot. Sure. And if I can get Koru Kids somehow to work on this trust thing, yeah, at a deep societal level, then I would love to do that. Otherwise, I'm probably going to be thinking about other ways that I can contribute to that because I think it's huge. The other one is just, old-fashioned AI doomerism. Yeah. Like, I do think the probability that AI is not aligned with human interests and is extremely powerful and is linked up to all the systems of importance in the world, all those things seem very reasonably likely to happen with absolutely enormous consequences.
You know, doomsday scenario, if it woke up, if it became sentient, if it became self-aware, would we become the apes and AI becomes the humans? I don't know if anyone knows really. It's very speculative, but it's certainly a question that needs to be asked, right?
I think it's right, and I don't even think it requires sentience. I think you can have a lot of damage through having a bad human actor who gets control of of something really powerful.
So hacking, or even just it hallucinates and fires a nuke.
Just a mistake.
Yeah, and
it
happens all the time.
It's just a misfire. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but it now could happen on a much, much, much bigger scale. Okay, another potentially dangerous element of technology, less dangerous than an AI nuke, but I have a 1-year-old, as you know, and we don't really do screen time, but I've seen how addicted it can be to give him an iPad and that sort of thing. And then I'm definitely worried about social media when he becomes a little bit older. Like, what age does he have an account, and how does this all work? I'm very, very new to this, right? What are your thoughts on, I guess, children using technology? You're probably one of the most qualified people in the country to speak to on this topic, right? So what are your thoughts?
Well, the good news is I'm very excited about the grassroots campaign against smartphones, which has just set the playgrounds on fire. It has been the fastest growing grassroots campaign I can think of in history ever, that I can think of. It kind of went in the space of a handful of months. It went from like the first parents setting up a WhatsApp group to like legislation being proposed by MPs. It's fully on, it's in the manifestos. I mean, that is incredible, like impact for a grassroots campaign. So I'm excited about that. I feel like there is hopefully coming a tipping point where enough parents say, this isn't okay, what's happening. But to kind of, that's the good news. I mean, the bad news is the thing is happening. So yeah, I think there's now huge evidence of the dangers of certain types of social media and access to smartphones. I've seen it just anecdotally with my nieces and nephews. I've seen these incredibly bubbly, lovely kids who are just a joy and delight become somewhat zombies. And honestly, I find it very sad. And I talk to my sister about it all the time. And, you know, I've said to her, her kids are a little bit older than mine. And I've said to her, what age do you think, you know, we should be giving phones? And she just, she tears her hair out over it. And she says, never. And she's joking, but she's not joking. She's got so her kids are 16, 14, and 12, I think.
Okay, so you can't really keep devices away from a 16-year-old in 2024.
This
it's
is
very
the
hard
problem.
to do,
This
right?
is the problem, right? And this is what I think the bit that we haven't quite figured out of the grassroots campaign. I think there are alternatives. So there are certain things that kids need. So I think everyone agrees they need Google Maps. I think everyone agrees that's like useful. But you know, does my 10-year-old daughter need Instagram?
Or TikTok?
I really, really, really want to keep her from Instagram because, you know, I can just see it. It's so clear that as soon as she gets Instagram, there's certain, you know, pressures about what it is to be a young, like, teenage girl that she's going to be extremely susceptible because I know my daughter. And so for that, I want to delay. And, you know, how many years can I reasonably delay Instagram? I don't know because I'm not there yet. But I think it's really, really important to try.
Yeah. I just interviewed Laura Stembridge. I think you know Laura. Yes. Yeah. And we had a deep conversation on the impact of social media on children. And some of the stats were absolutely insane. I'm just trying to remember from the top of my head, but it was between 17 to 25-year-olds, 1 in 4, because of social media, has self-harming thoughts, and 1 in 5 have an eating disorder.
I mean, it's astounding. And the way that, you know, the way that children learn about sex nowadays, through seeing porn, like violent porn, at really, really early ages, like it might be 9 or 10. Yeah. And this is what they now think is like what sex is. What does that mean for how they then engage in relationships? You know, it's horrendous. Yeah.
Okay, so apart from screen time, as somebody who has a few more kids than me and they're a little bit older than mine, what advice would you give, I guess, to me and new parents? What tips, what recommendations? How do I raise a healthy, happy, successful baby? Maybe not successful, just healthy and happy. Right now, yeah. I'll take it.
Successful baby. I think, I'm thinking quite a lot at the moment about parent wellness and being, you know, having enough energy to actually do the things that you need to do. Because the things you need to do,
yeah, I'll take that.
The things you need to do is like, you know, love them and care for them and play with them. And engage, and we know all that stuff. The most important thing for child development up until the age of about 5, but really beyond that as well, is play. Yeah. Play is, the more you can maximize play, whether that's playing with you is great, playing with other kids is great, playing alone is great, any form of play is great. That is really all they need, and it's what play is. When you think about what makes something fun, like, if we can just talk about play for a little minute. Yeah. If I gave you this pen and I told you to hold it above the desk and drop it down onto the desk, and I told you to do that like 10 times, you would probably find that quite boring, right? if I told you to throw it across the room and hit, I don't know,
hit to loud?
Hit this exactly.
I was looking at
you
might
find you might find that like more fun, but it's almost too hard because I've given you something that is really very difficult. But if I told you to throw it from where you are and see if you can get it so a little bit goes off the desk, that's probably the most fun version of what I've just said, right?
I'd be game for that.
So that's if I gave you those 3 challenges, that's probably the one you'd choose because it's more fun. So the thing that is the most fun is also, pretty much by definition, the thing that's on the edge of your abilities, right? If it's too easy, it's boring. And if it's too hard, it's also boring. So when we, as grown-ups, or when children, and anyone plays, by definition, we're doing things at the edge of our abilities, which is why play is such a educational superpower. And when anything that is kind of external to that, like, I don't know, like worksheets, curriculum, that kind of thing, that's someone guessing where you're at, but it's not them figuring out exactly where that sweet spot is that's right on the edge of your abilities. So what kids are able to do constantly all the time is constantly adjust for the thing that is on the edge of their abilities. And we as grown-ups can create, we can give them ideas, we can create cool circumstances. This morning at about 6:30 in the morning, I was out on my lawn with my 2-year-old and I set up 2 hoops. She loves jumping right now. She's super into jumping. And so I set up a hoop for her, 2 hoops, and I jumped from one to the other just to give her an idea of a thing to do. I wasn't making her do it, but I was definitely doing it in order to encourage her to do it. And she thought that was brilliant, and she then spent ages jumping between the 2 hoops. And the reason that would not have been fun for my 6-year-old, because for my 6-year-old it's too boring, it's too easy. But for my 2-year-old, it's exactly the right place on the edge of her abilities, and so it was fun. That's cool. Anyway, so that's why so that would be my key recommendation is play. Yeah. And then the other thing to think about our yourself as a parent. I'm thinking a lot about parent wellness at the moment. And the thing I think is really tricky about wellness is a lot of the wellness whole narrative doesn't really go with being a parent. And when you even hear anyone saying wellness stuff, I feel like parents are ugh, because they're I know, you're going to tell me to take a spa day, which I can't do because I don't have childcare, or you're going to tell me to get up and do something at 6 a.m., but I'm already getting up at 6 a.m. with my kids. Or you're going to tell me to do something that's expensive and I don't have any money. Or, I feel like that's kind of a lot of the wellness stuff is either incredibly time consuming or expensive or just doesn't go with having kids. And so I'm really interested in the things that aren't those things. And so one thing that I'm evangelical about right now is I recently started taping my mouth when I sleep.
Okay, I've heard of this.
Yeah, and I found from night to day, I am more energetic. I actually need less sleep now.
It stops mouth breathing.
It stops mouth breathing, but what it does is it increases the availability of oxygen to your muscles because in the nose, helps you access nitric oxide, which we need in order to process the oxygen, and your mouth doesn't do that. So I am now waking up feeling so much more energized, and that energy is staying with me through the entire day. The reason I love this particular thing is it's super cheap. You can buy these mouth tape strips from Amazon for £1.50. And you get a whole pack of them. And it is really low risk. It doesn't take any time. In fact, it saves you time because you sleep better you feel better on less sleep. Another one is kind of hate to say this one, but it is true. Cold showers. So I've recently started doing cold showers.
Yeah.
And another reason I love this one is because again, it's free.
How long have you been doing them?
Matter of weeks, not that long.
I'm 5 years in now.
Really?
Yeah, every morning for 5 years. I've had a handful of exceptions.
This explains why you're so good.
No, it's I do it cold to begin with. I do it warm to begin with as I put everything on, and then I turn it freezing cold as I wash everything off. Nice. And I do it like 90 seconds. But it's the hardest thing that I do, and it's the first thing I do every single morning. So this is easy because I've already defeated a monster this morning, right? And I know it sounds to people that don't like this stuff, it sounds like a little bit cliche or hustly or whatever. It works for me, and I'm not going to stop doing it. So
I actually look forward to it now, and I never thought I would have said that. But for me, I love this one as well because it doesn't take any extra time. You know, you've got to have a shower anyway. So I like collecting those sorts of little things.